Alright, so the demo is out on Steam and I'm gonna play a bit of it for you. And if you stick around, I'll also play some levels of the full game. So I've been working on this game for a few months and I have 125 levels for the full game. And the demo contains 20 of those. The full game still needs some polish before I'm releasing it. Let's do it like this. Alright, so let's get started. From the beginning. Yeah, so the game includes plenty of the actual text of the poem, as well as images that I colored. So this is what the book looks like. It has these old engravings by like 300 years ago. An artist called Gustave Doré made these, and I colored some of them for this game. Alright, so I included a dictionary where you can read about some of the figures in the poem. It can be hard to follow. Let's get started. So this is the first tutorial level, the forest, in which Dante meets Virgil and they embark on their journey through the 9 circles of hell. So it's a simple puzzle game. These are just the tutorials in the beginning. Alright, the classic first lines of the poem. Midway upon the journey of our life, I found myself within a forest dark, for the straightforward pathway had been lost. Ah me, how hard a thing it is to say, what was this forest savage, rough and stern, which in the very thought renews the fear. So bitter is it, death is little more. Right, so here's the kind of camera movement tutorial. So you can move with the arrow keys or the mouse, and you can rotate the camera, dragging the mouse, or by using some keys on the keyboard. So in this level is not really a puzzle, but you learn that you sometimes have to rotate the camera to see where you're going. You can push these blocks if you like. Let's see. So, not really any puzzles so far, just setting the mood. I cannot well repeat how there I entered. So full was I of slumber at the moment in which I had abandoned the true way. So he's kind of lost in his life, Dante. He's in the midway upon the journey of our life. Probably means Dante was 35. Because back then, 700 years ago, a normal life consisted of 70 years. That's what you said the lifespan was. Alright, so here's the first puzzle, kind of. And here you learn that you can undo moves using the Z key. And this is the first puzzle that contains some states in which you're stuck. So if you go down here, you can't get back up without undoing. You can push down the boxes, and you see that you need to get a hold of all the boxes in order to advance. So if you push this box too far, it gets stuck. So you have to learn that you can never push a box inside a wall like that. And then this last one, you have to find these ladders and some light ladder tutorial. Like that. Among those was I, who are in suspense, and a fair saintly lady called to me in such wise I besought her to command me. Her eyes were shining brighter than the star, and she began to say, gentle and low, with voice angelical, in her own language, Beatrice am I, who bid thee go. I come from there where I would fain return. So from the poem it's not very really clear, the story in the beginning, but Dante has to go through these 9 circles of hell in order to reach paradise on the other side. And Beatrice is a real person from the real Dante's life. He was kind of in love with her, and she died at 16, I think, and but Dante kept writing about her for the rest of his life. So she kind of had a big effect on him, apparently. Alright, so in this puzzle, you have to realize that you have to get both of the boxes here to cross the river, but if you push this box down, there's no way to get a hold of this other box. One box is not enough here, so let's restart. So in this puzzle you learn that you can actually stack boxes. That's the only way. Jump in this hole and then you can get both of them out. And you also learn that you can, when you push it like this, one box will fall down and then the next one like this, like you would expect, right? So if you have a tower of boxes, you can push all of them down like that. Let's advance. But after I had reached the mountain's foot, at that point where the valley terminated, which had with consternation pierced my heart, upward I looked and beheld its shoulders, vested already with that planet's race which leadeth others right by every road. Then was the fear a little quieted. So here he's talking about the sun is shining on the top of the mountain. The sun is the planet that leadeth others right by every road. Let's just make sure the stream is still working. Yeah, I'm getting a bit low frame rate because I'm looking up my own stream and using some other software at the same time. Sorry about that. Alright, so this is the kind of big ladder tutorial level. The game has some really simple mechanics, and then in the puzzles I try to make them as varied as possible. So in this one, the objective is just to learn how ladders work. Oh, and yeah, you can quick save and quick load as well, but probably you will mostly just use the undo key for small mistakes. So you learn that you can climb ladders like this, and you can climb to the top of the ladder, but this ladder would need to be one step higher for me to reach the next step up there. So you have to find some other way. Right, and here you learn that you can jump off ladders and actually catch another ladder mid-air, like this. So in this game there are not really any puzzles like this. You never have to kind of be quick and do actions quickly. It's just about figuring stuff out mostly. So maybe that was a small exception, but just showing you that this is possible. And here's a small trap, I guess, because sure you can jump this ladder if you like, but there's no way to the top. And this ladder is also just too short. So you have to go to this side. And here you learn that you can actually walk mid-air, so you can 1, 2, and go up here. And here you learn that you can, so when you click a movement key, you want to kind of move into the ladder to ascend. And if I go then like to the left, right, left, right, left, and climb up the alternating pieces of the ladder like that. Okay, so he's up the mountain, and after my weary body I had rested, the way resumed I on the desert slope, so that the firm foot ever was the lower. And lo, almost where the ascent began, a panther, light and swift exceedingly, which with spotted skin was covered over. And never moved she from before my face, nay, rather did she impede so much my way, that many times I to return had turned. Okay. And there's the little panther. It's not part of the gameplay, it's just for kind of setting the atmosphere. Right, actually you can see him here. So later in the game there's actually puzzles involving moving NPCs. So each circle of hell here in this Inferno has its kind of own color theme and its own mood, its own music and its own puzzle mechanic. So in the start we're mostly just doing tutorial levels. And the thing you're supposed to learn here, I like to make puzzles be the tutorials themselves. So there's no text explaining that you can push ladders, but it's the only thing to do, right? You can push this block that has a ladder on it and climb. Let's go up here. Right, and then there's a ladder here to the left, but it seems that, yeah, so I basically need to do the same thing as before when I climbed up. Let's save and show you. Right, so I'm trying to make my own segment like this one, right, where I have to climb alternating sides. But now I have to make the right side here. So let's quick load. So now if I push it here, I can climb this part. So it just comes down to pushing them down in the correct order now, right? And I think if I put 2 of them here, and this one here, it should be fine. Like that. While I was rushing downward to the lowland, before mine eyes did one present himself, who seemed from a long continued silence hoarse. Thee it behooves to take another road, responded he when he beheld me weeping, if from this savage place thou wouldst escape. Therefore I think and judge it for thy best thou follow me, and I will be thy guide, and lead thee hence through the eternal place, where thou shalt hear the desperate lamentations, shalt see the ancient spirits disconsolate, who cry out each one for the second death. Yeah, so the poem is very dark and kind of metal, if you didn't realize. It's got some really disturbing parts. And you notice the language is kind of old, so I have some brief explanations. It's written, I'm using the Longfellow translation from about 200 years ago. Alright, so here's Virgil, who will be our guide through the Inferno. And to get to him, it seems that we need to construct a bridge here, and it seems I need all 3 boxes. So this is about learning how not to get the boxes stuck. You see, if I push it down here, for example, there's no way to ever get it out of the corner. So I have to be careful to push it down somewhere in reach. And I think pretty much the only possibility here is somewhere here. And then the next edge is very jagged here, so this seems to be the only place to push it down. This maybe. Yeah. So I like puzzles myself, where you don't really have to experiment. You should be able to kind of figure it out by thinking about the puzzle. So here you can look at the edges and you can go like, there's no reasonable way to push them down anywhere except maybe in this spot and in this spot. So one solution is to go like this. Let's see. Oh yeah, you can play with the mouse too, by the way. I think it's better with the keys, but tastes may vary. Okay, if I go in this hole now, I can get this one out and push those down, and now I can get this one. It's not the only solution, so you have to come up with something yourself. So we're meeting Virgil now, and you can talk to him by walking into him. Just says something. Let us not linger. We have a long and arduous journey ahead of us. All right. Day was departing, and the embrowned air released the animals that are on earth from their fatigues. And I, the only one, made myself ready to sustain the war, both of the way and likewise of the woe, which memory that errs not shall retrace. Now go, for one sole will is in us both, thou leader and thou lord and master thou. Thus said I to him, and when he had moved, I entered on the deep and savage way. So Virgil was an old Greek poet who Dante looked up to very much, so he decided Virgil will be the guide through this Inferno. And Virgil actually comes from hell, so according to Dante's interpretation of Christianity at the time, if you're born before Jesus, you have to go to hell because you cannot be saved. So Virgil has been in the first circle of hell, and now he comes back to hell. Right. Okay, so this puzzle is kind of tricky. It's teaching you to that you can push larger structures like this. Before we've just pushed boxes, but these are boxes that are connected into these logs. And it's very tempting to push it down here, right? Fits snugly, and you can walk to here. And then you can clearly see that the other log is supposed to sit up here. But there's no way to get this one because you can just push it down. So if we restart, yeah. And also you could technically jump down here, but there's no point. And talking to Virgil, it tells you it's no point. So you should focus on the logs here. So the only thing you can really try is to somehow use this log to get a hold of the other one. So if we go like this, yeah. Also, in this universe, you have to kind of accept that physics work like this. As long as there's something below the object, it cannot fall. What can you do in a grid-based game, right? So I can push it like this. And now I can get this one to here at least. And the problem is now the other one is stuck. I can't push this anywhere. So I have to use this one to get that one. One more time, I guess. This seems to be one solution. Oops, it's probably more. Let's see. Okay, we go like that. Like that. I think it's done. I guess camera movement looks a bit nicer when you use the mouse, but I prefer using the keys. And you can zoom with the mouse as well. Here we go. The most famous lines of the poem. Through me the way is to... So Dante and Virgil arrive at this is the gates of hell, and they see this sign here, and they read the inscription, and it says, "Through me the way is to the city dolent. Through me the way is to eternal dole. Through me the way among the people lost. All hope abandon, ye who enter in." Dole means something like grief or sorrow. And just show you this famous picture as well. Well, I think it's too dark. Maybe if I have a candle here. Well, it's basically the same picture, but maybe I should go like this. It works. Well, you get the point. These are really epic engravings. Okay, so here's the next level. So if you talk to Virgil, he will give you some hint. So this is not really a puzzle, it's just for the general mood and atmosphere. I'm trying to make a level. So in front of us lies the gates of hell. There should be some way to open them. And kind of hints that you should do something with this stump here. If you try to push it, it actually open the gates to hell. Let's go. Alright, so here we're entering the vestibule of hell. This is the first part before the 9 circles proper begin. And here lives the uncommitted, who were opportunists taking neither the side of good nor evil. Here all suspicion needs must be abandoned, all cowardice must needs be extinct. We to the place have come where I have told thee, thou shalt behold the people dolorous, who have forgone the good of intellect. And after he had laid his hand on mine with joyful mien, whence I was comforted, he led me in among the secret things. Right, so now we're in the vestibule of hell. And Virgil points out that if you push too many boxes forward, the exit will be blocked, of course. So if you do something like this, well, you obviously can't exit. So this, I would say, is a typical Sokoban style puzzle. You have to push boxes in a confined space. The whole game is not about this, but it's kind of a core mechanic. So the first few puzzles in this vestibule are about pushing boxes in different ways. And here you can try some things, but because it's symmetrical, you can pretty much either go in front here, but then you're stuck, or you could go to the right. So, and here you can only go in this direction. So now you see that you can do like this. Their sighs, complaints, and ululations loud resounded through the air without a star, whence I, at the beginning, wept thereat. Ululation is a long, high-pitched, trilling sound resembling howling or wailing. It's not a happy sound. Alright, so now it starts to look tricky. But I like this kind of puzzle because it looks tricky, but when you try to experiment with it, you notice that if you ever push too many boxes to the last line, if there's ever 3 here, you can't go past. So the whole idea is try not to push too many boxes forward, right? And if you just follow this rule, the puzzle actually solves itself. Never push a box forward. Pretty cool. Right. Well, my face looks extremely red, but because I have candles and also green screen thing. And after it, there came so long a train of people that I never would have believed that ever death so many had undone. Forthwith I comprehended and was certain that this the sect was of caitiff wretches, hateful to God and to his enemies. So these are the poor, tortured souls that never took the side of either good or evil. Here you see the Lasciati ogni speranza voi centrate. Abandon all hope, ye who enter in original Italian. Okay, so in this puzzle, you see that you have to put 2 boxes here to fill the gap, right? But the problem is, see this bridge here. You can't really push the boxes across here. There's no way to push them to the left. The keys are really simple in this game, by the way. It's just, let's quickly check the controls. So it's just movement, camera movement, and that's it pretty much. Undo move is an important button. And also while I'm here, let's look at, I should mention, if you like the background music, it's by Kevin MacLeod from this Incompetech website. He makes music that appears in many games because he has this nice royalty-free music, which I really like, so check it out. Anyway, so what can you do in this level? Well, there's a conspicuous looking tree here to the right, so let's try to push the boxes into it. And now you see what happens. The top boxes were blocked by the tree, right? So they're pushed off onto my head, and now I can carry them around. So this will be an important mechanic to understand. Should make sense. And then when I move here, the branch there will push off the top box. And same thing here. So now I can fill one of the holes. But now my problem is this box. I can't get it back anyway. So this serves as both a tutorial and kind of a real puzzle, I'd say. Sorry. Wait, I'm using the wrong version. Let's see, we were here. Right. So the thing you have to do is to... Oh yeah, there's an option to have this really cool mantle, but... let's keep it for a while. Or maybe not. So the thing you can do is to just push off one box, because as long as you carry one box, this branch won't knock it off, right? You can use it here. And then we can go back and get another one. Like that. And here we go. Right, and lo, coming towards us in a boat, an old man, hoary with the hair of eld, crying, "Woe unto you, ye souls depraved! Hope never more to look upon the heavens. I come to lead you to the other shore, to the eternal shades in heat and frost." It's really epic. So Dante was actually inspired a lot by Greek mythology in his work. So this is supposed to be Charon, who was in Greek mythology, he was the ferryman across the river Styx. And here he comes, and he thinks Dante and Virgil have come to hell to stay, but they're just passing through. So. And hair of eld means he has this white hair, hair of old age. And that's supposed to be Charon. Here he goes. Okay, so big stacks of boxes in this one. So you see that you have to fill some holes here in order to cross to the other side. So, but the problem is if you try to just push down some stacks like this, what happens is these holes fill up, right? And then you have some leftover boxes, and now I can't reach the ladder. So it seems I have to push down the exact right amount of boxes. Okay, and I think Virgil tells you so. You need the exact right number of boxes. So here you can figure it out. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's a total of 16 boxes needed. So then this turns into kind of a simple math puzzle. What sum of these stacks become exactly 16? And there's a few combinations you can try. There's only one that works, I think. You see that this one has exactly 8. So if you try to use that one, you see that you can take 5 and 3 and get another 8. And now it should, if we count it correctly, it should fill up exactly right, like that. Go. Alright, so now we're actually jumping in the demo. So this wasn't the full first part, but it's a few levels from the first part. And now I consider the player to be kind of used to the basic mechanics. So now we're jumping down a lot deeper in hell into the circle of heresy. This is the 6th circle in Dante's Inferno. Maybe I'll show you Dante's Inferno map. It's pretty cool. Yeah. Alright, you can see part of it here. This is a guy, someone made this. Looks pretty cool. There's the circle of limbo, lust, gluttony, greed, anger, heresy, violence, and fraud. And treachery is the worst one. Anger is usually called wrath instead, I guess. So this is in the circle of heresy. Upon a sudden issued forth this sound from one of the tombs, wherefore I pressed fearing a little nearer to my leader. I had already fixed my eyes on his, and he uprose erect with breast and front, even as if hell he had in great despite. As soon as I was at the foot of his tomb, somewhat he eyed me, and, as if disdainful, then he asked me, who were thine ancestors? So it turns out that this guy is from the same city as Dante, Florence, and they chat a bit about what's going to happen in the future and so on. I really recommend reading the full book because in this game you will get some short version of the story, but not so much the dialogue Dante has with the characters in the different circles of hell. So Virgil says that this bridge can be moved. So let's find a way to slide it into position. So if I push it here, if I could push it all the way to the left wall, I could just walk across, right? So this becomes just a regular kind of Tetris puzzle. You have to fit these pieces into this square, this rectangular region, and then you can pass. So let's see if I remember how to do this. I think this one is supposed to go to the bottom left. It's the only one. And then we have this one maybe. Oh crap, did I? Oh, we're fine. Like that. And then I need this one to the left, right, and then it should work out nicely. It's just a simple puzzle. So there's only one puzzle of this kind, by the way. All the puzzles are supposed to be unique. And nobody wants to do the same thing. Oh crap. Nobody wants to do the same thing over and over a million times, right? So all the puzzles is something different. There's one 3-dimensional version of this puzzle, but that's it. There we go. Let's move the bridge, and now we can just walk into the goal. All right. So that was from the Circle of Heresy, and here you see these guys standing in the tombs like that. All right, so here's another cut in the demo. We're jumping again. So now they're in the 7th circle, a circle of violence. They're walking through this dark forest, and this happens. I heard on all sides lamentations uttered. In person, none beheld I who might make them. Whence utterly bewildered, I stood still. Then stretched I forth my hand a little forward and plucked a branchlet off from the great thorn, and the trunk cried, "Why dost thou mangle me?" And after it had become embrowned with blood, it recommenced its cry, "Why dost thou rend me? Hast thou no spirit of pity whatsoever?" Yeah, so these are kind of disturbing. The trees are people who died and became trees. All right, so this circle has also a special mechanic, and the mechanic here is, if you talk to Virgil, he will tell you the circle of violence can be harsh, but I will help you. And he says that you can press tab to switch characters. So the mechanic of all of the 7th circle is that you can actually use 2 players. And here, let's put these long mantles back because it looks cool. This actually used to be a bug in the game, that if you switch characters, the active player is supposed to have a mantle, so you can see who you can remember who you're controlling. And then I forgot to kind of reset it, so it flies through the air like that. But I'm keeping this bug because it's really cool. Anyway, so how can you can see the exit always looks something like this. How can you find your way there? There's no way to reach this ladder, it seems. But then you realize the thing you can do when you have 2 players is you can stand on a cube like this and push him with Virgil. So you can do something like this. And now the puzzle is almost solved, except there's a hole here, right? Can't get out. So the thing you have to do is sacrifice poor Virgil. He stands there and walk on top of his head. And I mean, he still comes with you. Alright, so now... So in the demo I just want to show a bit of the different atmospheres in the different parts of the full game. So now we're jumping again to the circle of fraud, the 8th circle. And here the Simonists are standing upside down with burning feet like this. It's their punishment. And their crime is something called simony. I think it means using your standing in the church for your own gain and to make money. So they're harshly punished like this. I saw upon the sides and on the bottom the livid stone with perforations filled, all of one size, and every one was round. Out of the mouth of each one there protruded the feet of a transgressor. The legs up to the calf, the rest within remained. In all of them the souls were both on fire, wherefore the joints so violently quivered they would have snapped asunder with some bands. Okay. Pretty cool, right? Yeah, by the way, the demo is out on Steam, so you can play this yourself. And if you think it looks interesting, consider wishlisting the game and you will get a notification when it's released. Alright, so we're in the 8th circle, the circle of fraud. Let's back off. There's also like a ton of options here. You can do it just the way you like it. The mechanic in this circle is that there's this kind of block. I don't think it's so clearly visible on stream because the quality is lower, but this is a special type of sand-like block, and if you walk into it, it disintegrates. So you can destroy all these blocks if you like. And now I can move this cube back and forward. Right. But the thing is, I have to somehow get to the other side, right? The exit is on the other side, so this seems difficult. So we somehow have to leave one of the sand blocks to the right, and I think this is the only solution. Go like that. So it's a pretty simple puzzle, but this is like one of the first puzzles in this section of Hell, so it's more like a tutorial puzzle. Actually, most of the demo is, some of the more easier puzzles, because I want many people to see the different parts. But in the full game, you will definitely get challenged. There's some really hard puzzles as well. Alright, so now we're actually jumping back in time. Now we're in the Circle of Lust, which is the 2nd circle of Hell. I came into a place mute of all light, which bellows as the sea does in a tempest, if by opposing winds it was combated. The infernal hurricane that never rests hurtles the spirits onward in its rapine, whirling them around and smiting, it molests them. When they arrive before the precipice, there are shrieks, the plaints and the laments. there they blaspheme the puissance divine. Right, so lustful souls here are caught in a hurricane, and it's supposed to be a kind of poetic punishment. So they're out of control, spinning without ability to control their movement for eternity, just like their emotions were uncontrollable in their life. So that's Dante's version of his. So yeah, Dante was very heavily influenced by Christian religion, but his views were controversial even back then, 700 years ago when he wrote this. So we're in the circle of lust, and this is about locks and keys. All of this circle has these doors and keys, and there's different puzzles involving them. So this is one of the first ones. It's just a simple idea that you have to get both of those keys. But the problem is most attempts here will cause the keys to get stuck. Right? There's too many boxes here now. I can never get that key. And I need both keys for the doors. Maybe, I don't know. Let's increase the sound effects because this, yeah. So the music is not mine, it's by Kevin MacLeod, but the sound effects I recorded myself. It was a lot of fun. So this sound is actually me picking up a key from my desk. and this is me opening a door. Right, anyway. So this can be a bit tricky, but since again it's a symmetrical puzzles, the space of states are not too great. So if I remember correctly, I think this will be a solution. I can just figure out the rest now. How is it? Like that? No. Is it like, let's see. Yeah, like this. And the nice thing about, so I made these colorizations. These are usually black and white, but now I can kind of decide the color theme. So all of this circle of lust is supposed to be blue and purplish, kind of. Let's exit. And here Dante talks a bit about the people. So he's again influenced by history. And Helen I saw, I guess Helen of Troy, for whom so many ruthless seasons revolved, and I saw the great Achilles, who at the last hour combated with love. Paris I saw, and Tristan, and more than 1,000 shades did he name and point out with his finger, whom love had separated from our life. And I'm just gonna check for a second that the stream is still up. Is it still going? I think so. Oh yeah, it says there's 873 people here. That's nuts. I'm actually gonna turn. Okay, now I'm seeing the chat here as well. So if you want to say something, you can click on this extended view and write something in the chat. And from now on, I will probably see it after some seconds delay, of course. All right. So is this the last level of the demo? Almost. Yeah, the last real puzzle. So like I said before, the game has this demo has just 20 levels, and most of these are kind of tutorials and not all of them have puzzles, but the full game has 125 levels, out of which more than 100 are real puzzle levels. So it's a pretty big game for being a simple puzzle game. All right, let's go. Okay, so what's the puzzle about here? So you need two things. You need to get to the other side, and you need this key to open the door. So it seems natural to try to use these boxes to bridge the gap. This is the closest gap, but still it seems you need actually 4 boxes to bridge this gap. So I like this sort of puzzle because this type of puzzle, it seems almost impossible. Like, what can you do here? There's no options. And then you realize, well, you have to somehow use the key, right? Oh, sorry about that. Right. So you actually have to use the key as part of the walkway here. The problem is, I mean, the game pretty much only has the movement buttons, so there's no way to push the key. If you move into it, you pick it up. So I like this way of having strict mechanics and then just follow them and make puzzles around them. So the rule is, if you walk into a key, you pick it up. But of course I can use a box like this to push the key. And then maybe another one. And now I should be able to walk across actually, because I can walk on top of these keys. So this is a puzzle from a bit later in this level. When you come to this level, you already have some experience with how keys and boxes interact. Maybe we'll look at some of those levels later from the full game. Now I can walk across, but I don't no longer have the key, so luckily there's a box up here that I can use. We can switch out the key, pick it up, and complete the path like that. All right, and that's the Inferno demo. But don't go yet, because in a second I'll actually show you the full game. Not all the levels, but a few select levels I'll have a look at. Beta version, kind of. Right, and you can follow, if you like, Inferno Puzzle on Twitter. I'll post some development updates. And the demo is out now, so please wishlist the game on Steam right now, and you'll be notified when it comes out. It should be pretty soon, probably this year. And this is one of my favorite scenes from the game, and the book I mean. They're standing, maybe even... So it's from this picture before. They're standing on this edge here together and looking out over the circle of lust. All right. Maybe I'll show you briefly from the book, because it's so cool. So the full book actually has 3 parts. And the first one is Inferno, and that's what the game is based on. And the second one is called Purgatory. It's when they travel through Purgatory on the way up towards Paradise, which is the third part. And this is the picture this is based on. They're standing on the edge there and watching the infernal hurricane of souls. And yeah, you saw before, this is the colorized version here. All right, and I guess let's complete the demo proper. You can actually walk into the goal here, but it just leads you back to the very beginning of the game. Okay, so I hope you think it looks cool, and I still have some levels to polish, but the game is pretty much finished. So, all right. I'd be happy to answer some questions in the chat if you have them. So, before we start the game proper, let's actually start it up, the full version. Here you can see the full version, and just to show that I actually made these 125 levels and over 100 puzzles. Right, so yeah, let's see. So before we start, maybe I'll just say something brief about the game. So this has been my kind of pandemic hobby. I'm not really a programmer, but I decided to learn C++. I did some Python before that, but I started learning C++ in April or May last year. This year, I mean. And I've been working on this game as a kind of side project. since then. And it's made in C++, and I'm not using any external libraries, so I'm trying to do everything from scratch. And I'm really quite happy with how it's turning out. The only problem with not using a game engine is that this only runs on your CPU, so the performance is not great. You can see, I mean, now usually I get like 100 FPS still, but on a game like this maybe you would expect even higher, but it should be playable on all machines, definitely. Right. Let's just check to see if people are still here. Alright, so let's show some levels from the full game now.